Hello guys and welcome back to DarkHorse FM, and in today's video I have a ridiculous tactic to share with you like I promised in the previous video. So this video I'm going to share with you a tactic that I actually found out from Football Manager 2021. It's called Death by XG by Gibney. Gibney actually designed this tactic and helped me score a lot of goals in Football Manager 2021. He did test the tactic with PSG though, but in this particular save I'm going to test the tactic out with 4 South American teams. I'm going to share the teams with you very soon. I'm going to look into the tactic then. Just before we go into the tactic in detail, I want to thank you guys for always sticking by this video and always coming to my channel and always giving the channel the support that it needs basically. I've been quite happy because recently I realized that recently we hit 500 subscribers for this DarkHorse FM channel. So thank you guys for that. It really means a lot to me that you guys always subscribe to the channel. So we'll get into the tactic in detail there. And by the way, if you're new to the channel and you haven't already subscribed to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button and also to turn on the notifications so you can get notified when new videos come up. So let's get to the tactic then. So for the tactic, we're currently at Independiente and Argentine side, and then looking at the tactic so far, it's a 4-1-4-1 advance I call it advance because of the way the attacking midfielders are sort of the attacking midfielders are shadow strikers, and then you have the Rom de Tour. I always struggle to pronounce this thing. Let me just see how it is. Rom de Tour, yeah, it's German for space investigator. You have the Rom de Tour and then the winger, and that's like the flat 4 attacking midfielders. That's why I call it a 4-1-4-1 attack. It's Death by XG created by Gibney, and it was, according to Gibney, was also given to him by somebody else in Football Manager 2021. So looking at the teams, we're going to test out this tactic, and then after checking out the teams, we're going to look at the player instructions and then the team instructions in detail and see how the tactic is set up in FM 2022. The first team that we're going to be testing this tactic with is Club Atlético Independiente. Like I said, they are in Argentina and they have, well, a good reputation, or yeah, somewhat good reputation and training facilities and youth. I don't know how that matters in this test anyway, but they have been predicted to finish in 6th place. The next team that we're going to consider is Santos. In Football Manager is referred to as SAN, but they are in the Brazilian leagues. If you recall, Santos is where Neymar Jr. actually started his footballing career, and we all remember Santos, by the way, from the previous year. So they do have youth recruitment of 5 out of 5% and 5 out of 5 star, and they are predicted to finish in 7th place. So you can see that I'm picking teams that are somewhat mid-table but are not the weakest in the league per se. So that's the second team. The third team that we're going to be looking at is another team from Argentina, Club Atlético Newell's Old Boys. This is where Lionel Messi came from, and this is also one of my personal favorite teams in Football Manager as well. If I want to try something in South America, I tend to go to Newell's Old Boys. So they have been predicted to finish 16th. So compared to the other teams in their respective divisions, Newell's Old Boys are far below mid-table, so they are predicted to, struggle somewhat in the Argentina League or the Argentine Premier Division. The fourth team that we're looking at is Internacional. In Football Manager, they call them INT. It looks like Inter Milan, right? SC Internacional. In order not to confuse them with Internacional and with Internazionale from Italy and Club Independiente, although they also look white and red. But Internacional, SC Internacional are predicted to finish 6th, so they're also slightly above average, but they are not the strongest team in their league. So that's the next team that we're going to be considering. And then for the last team that we're looking at, we're going to Guadalajara in Mexico. This is Chivas, Club Chivas. That's what I'm just going to call them for short, Chivas. They are predicted to finish in 8th place in their league. And the name of the stadium is Zapopan. I kind of like that stadium, Estadio Akron Zapopan. Interesting. Let's just see where all these teams are going to rack up. So that's basically everybody. Into the tactics, then we're going to start with this player instruction, and then we're going to transition into the team instructions. So from the player instructions, then we have a sweeper keeper on support duty, and there are no instructions for him. There are 2 inverted wing backs on support duty, 1 ball playing defender, and then 1 no nonsense centre back on cover duty. I have sworn against using no nonsense centre back with a ball playing defender, so I don't know how this is going to work. It's interesting to see how that's going to pan out in this particular save. The inverted wing back is on support, and he has been asked to tackle harder. Both inverted wing backs have identical instructions, tackle harder, and the no nonsense centre back has no instructions, just expected to cover the space left behind by all these lads that are going to be running up and down the field, because 3 of them are going to be going forward, so somebody has to stay back, right? No nonsense centre back, cover duty. The next player here is the ball playing defender, no instructions as well, and then you have a box to box midfielder in the center of midfield going up and down. he has been asked to tackle harder, and that's it. Run from position is a normal instruction for ball play for box-to-box midfielders, by the way. So box-to-box midfielder is going to get up and down the field, and is going to help defensively and also support this onslaught of attack that the opposition has to deal with. In attack, we have a winger on support duty. The winger has been asked to run from position and then tackle harder. There are two shadow strikers, but before we come to them, let's look at what the Rome de Tour. Yeah, I got it. What the Rome de Tour has been asked to do, just to tackle harder. This player is supposed to take advantage of the space left behind by other players, and also is supposed to find space for himself and try to unlock the defense somehow, draw away defenders basically. The two shadow strikers have almost identical instructions, not really identical. One of them has been asked to run from positions and tackle harder, while the other shadow striker has been asked to run from positions, tackle harder and shoot less often. So even though he's going to be playing like a shadow striker in his normal sense, he's going to be a bit more creative and going to be a bit more cautious when trying to take chances, because he's going to always look to find his teammates, which is the advanced forward, the shadow striker beside him, and the Rome de Tour, also the winger, I forgot, in space. So he's going to look to try and play a pass instead of just shooting randomly. The last player on the list is the advanced forward on attack. He does not have any instruction. He has just been asked to move into channels. Going into the team's out of possession instruction, then the goalkeeper has been asked to, well, we're going to get to the goalkeeper real quick. I don't know why I started with the goalkeeper. But in defense, the defensive line is standard, and the team has been asked to force the opposition outside. That is calling for a narrow defensive width if you're using a previous Football Manager game. It's called to show the opposition outside, and then they've also been asked to play with the offside trap with a higher line of engagement as well. The team's trigger press has been set to much more urgent. In previous FMs, we would normally call this extremely urgent pressing, but it's also been turned to much more urgent pressing, while asking the team also to mark tighter. Now in transition, the team has been asked to counter press and to counter. This tends to work in FM as well, and knowing that we have a high amount of numerical superiority in attack with 5 players pressing the opposition, and then the box-to-box midfielder also helping to try and cover that gap in between and close the gap between the midfield and the attack, or the defense and the attack really. The counter press actually looks like a very good idea in this position, and then the team has also been asked to counter. With one thing I'm not really sure about is the goalkeeper being asked to roll it up. So it seems that we're trying to play out the defense here, but it's going to be something I'm going to see in the in possession instructions. The goalkeeper has been asked to roll it out. So looking at the in possession instructions, then the team has been asked to play with extremely wide attacking width. So our width is extremely wide, and then passing directness is shorter with an increasing urgency in the tempo. So there's high tempo, and then the team has also been asked to run our defense, which brings me to the sense of why we are asking the goalkeeper to roll the ball out. Okay, we're just going to see how it works out. The team has also been asked to play low crosses and walk the ball into the box while trying to create those chances. And in general, the mentality of this team has been set to attack. So the team has been set to play with an attacking mentality. And with regards to set pieces, there are no set pieces attached to this tactics. So you're just going to basically play it the way it is. If you do have set pieces that you normally use in FM22 or indeed FM21, you can attach them to this tactic if you want a lot more goals and trying to see how you can score a lot more goals. With the tactic, you can attach your set pieces too. So we're here at the supposed end of the season, the 13th of December 2021. It's odd how we didn't even step into 2022 in a Football Manager 2022 game. So looking at the results, first with Neil's Old Boys, and wow, after 25 games, Neil's Old Boy lost just 4 games, and then they drew 6. They won 15 of those games, and then they came second. A team that was predicted to finish 16th on the table came second with just 4 points off the top, where Boca Juniors actually ended up winning the league with 55 points, and then Neil's Old Boy had 51 points, of course. And then looking at the team stats, then the most goals were scored by Neil's Old Boys and the Independiente. These are the two sides that were actually testing out the tactic with, so they had the highest amount of goals. Neil's Old Boys scoring 61 and Independiente scoring 54 goals. This is the testing the tactic using the worst case scenario possible. So with the hands-on approach, the tactic is probably going to perform a lot better. Looking at the stats in possession, I don't expect the tactics to have a lot of possession. We're playing that very cautiously. So looking at Independiente, they had the highest amount of possession among the two teams that we checked between Neil's Old Boys and Independiente. They have 52% possession, but there's a lot of dribbling. Independiente had 266. Neil's Old Boys are in 6th place with 254. Most tackles won. Yeah, the tactic, considering that everybody was asked to tackle harder, I expected that we're going to be the ones, kicking everybody in the league. So 453 and 449. This sort of begs the question if tackling harder does help you get better results in FM22, but that's a topic for another day. That's basically how these two teams performed. And then looking at Neil's Old Boys, were currently Newell's Old Boys. Yes, they were knocked out of all of that competition, like the Copa Sudamericana, the Copa Argentina, in the semi-finals, by the way, to Independiente themselves. So it's tricky to see where Independiente ended up finishing. They were also knocked out from the Argentine League Cup. Curious to see where Independiente finished with their own tactic, although we saw them in Newell's Boys already. They finished in 3rd place in the league, but they were knocked out from the group stage of this Copa Sudamericana as well. They got knocked out in the Argentine League Cup also, but in the Copa America that we saw them beat Newell's Boys in the semi-finals, they went to the final and then they lost. So looking at the final of the Copa America, Independiente lost to eventual champions Boca Juniors. So the tactic sort of takes you all the way there, just bar Boca Juniors, I guess. So with the hands-on approach, you'll probably be able to figure out a way to beat Boca Juniors with the tactic. So that's kind of how it worked out for these two teams. Looking at we're going to use Independiente to look at the player stats. The most goals or the most assists here, the most goals were scored by 2 players. Those are 2 players from Newell's Old Boys and Independiente as well. 19-year-old Juan Sforza, that's Sforza, right? How do you pronounce this guy's name? Juan Sforza, he scored 17 times. Leandro Fernandez scored 17 times in the league as well, but he's a lot older. He's like twice Forza's age, so it's 30 years. Leandro Fernandez had 17 goals as well, and then everybody else. There's also Juan Manuel Garcia. He has 10 goals in the league. And then looking at the most players of the match, 1, Lionel Miranda. So none of our players actually took the award for the most player of the match, but then most assists, Justin Gianni and then Damian Bartolini from Newell's Old Boys and Independiente respectively. They had 11 and 8 assists between them. That's 19 assists between them. Oh, my math is still good. Over to Brazil then. Let's see how the Brazilian side managed to perform. Santos that were predicted to finish, whether 6th or 7th, I forget where Santos were predicted to finish, but Santos and SC Internacional finished in 4th and 3rd, and they were not that far off Flamingos that eventually won the league as well. Like I said, with hands on approach, you probably get better results with this tactic. Santos, they did lose a lot of games though. They lost 10 times, but then they won 24 of those games. So this tactic was probably win or lose. It was everything out there or nothing else out there. But then you can see Santos' performance in the Sao Paulo State Championship. They are currently beating Corinthians by 5-1. Or they've already beaten Corinthians, so they are waiting the next stage. And then they got knocked out in the semi-finals of the Copa Libertadores as well. And then there's the Brazilian Cup. There's the small matter of the Brazilian Cup. Santos, that were not predicted to be in that position, actually ended up winning the competition as a whole. And it's interesting. Let's look at the team stats. Then I think that it kind of helps us cover Internacional, Internacional and Santos at the same time. So the most goals were scored by Internacional with 92 goals, and then Santos had 90. That's 2 short of Internacional. That's the tactic again, guaranteeing you a lot of goals. Most points per game was Flamengo. They ended up winning the league anyway, but Internacional and Santos were right up there as well. Most shots, Santos and Internacional right behind Flamengo. So Flamengos did walk the league in there, or almost walk the league basically, but then there were 2 sides using the same tactic that we're testing right now, pushing them to the wire. Looking at the player stats then to see how individual players in this tactic went on to perform. SC International had Tyson. I think you remember Tyson from Shakhtar Donetsk. It's the same Tyson, right? The same guy from Shakhtar Donetsk. Let's not get sidetracked by this. Okay, Tyson had 18 assists. And then there's Hulk in Athletic Mineiro, but he's not part of our test today. And Marcos Guilherme had 13 assists, and then Angelo had 10. So a lot of assists from the Brazilian side as well compared to that of the Argentina side. And then the most goals came from Hulk. He scored a lot. And then Ed Nilsson from International. Ed Nilsson and David scored 18 and 16 goals between them or individually. So looking at the most key passes, the tactic is right up there again with assists. Tyson, Marcos Guilherme, and then Boschila, and then there's Angelo again because of the assists that they actually went on to gather up throughout their season. So that's basically how the tactic worked out for these teams individually as players. We have one more team to look at, and that's Chivas in Mexico. We're here with Chivas, and they have a game against Atlas. For some reason, I feel that the Chivas season has been over before, and then we have to track back and see how far they did in the previous season. But looking at Chivas now, yeah, all the results here is 0, so it means there's a new season coming up. Mexican First Division closing stage, and then there's an opening stage. So the league is divided into stages in Mexico. So looking at Chivas' performance in the opening stage, they won 10 games out of 17, and then they drew 3 and then lost 4 times. They did concede a lot of goals, and I'm seeing their goals against, but then they have a goal difference of 12, so they probably needed to score a lot of goals to keep themselves position. But in summary, Chivas actually finished 2nd, and they were predicted to finish 7th, I guess. So the tactic did work well for them. Looking at the competition stats, let's just see how the teams stacked up. It's not showing me the way how the team stats rack up in previous saves. So that's basically how the tactic worked out for these individual teams that we selected to test out this tactic. It's the name of the tactic is the Death by XG by Gibney, and Gibney says it's by one of his friends. I think his name is Max. That's where the tactic came from. So thank you guys for sticking by this video, and this is basically the way the tactic is set up. Let me know if you're going to check it out. I'm going to attach the link in the description for you to download the FM22 version of this tactic. It's pretty much the same as that from FM2021. I just replicated the player roles and the instructions as well, and then we still got the same result. So Football Manager sort of knows what works basically. So that's basically how the tactic is set up. I'm going to attach the link in the description, and remember to also subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoy this sort of videos, remember to leave a like on it and also check back the channel later for more videos, and turn on video notifications, subscribe notifications, so you can get notified when new videos come up. I'll catch you guys with more tactic testing videos and Football Manager tips for FM2022 and basically how I play the game. We're going to catch you up in more videos much later in the future. Thanks for sticking around. I'll catch you guys in the next